Hi, my name is Ralph. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to work on the 96 motor. We're going to be putting the cylinders on today, putting the rings and the pistons and everything on, and getting that in place. That's our major plan. We're also going to go up to Jimmy's today and have a look and see what's going on with our head up there for the valve guide. So a lot of interesting things happening. We're moving forward on it, so stick with us. Hope you enjoy the ride today. As at our last video, you see that we got a lot of the dirty work out of the way. Honing the cylinders was the last step, and then washing them out and getting them ready to go. But now we're moving on to the next things that have to be done. We're gonna run a clean rag through here so we can see, a white rag, so we can see if there's any kind of debris or anything in there. I don't think so now. And then it's important to put some oil in them right away. If there's anything like your fingerprints, will make them start to rust very quickly. Make sure you cover them all with oil while they're waiting to go in the motor. Make sure you get everywhere, because if you leave anywhere, your fingerprints will cause rust spots, especially if they have to sit around for a while. We're just making sure we have all the spots covered. So now that we've got our cylinders all washed out and clean, we know that there's no grit or anything else from the honing operations left inside that will go inside the motor. The next step is for us to go at our pistons. We'll get our pistons installed and on there, and then we'll get our cylinders on, and we'll be another step closer to getting this motor finished. So let's go. So now that our cylinders are all ready to go, we're going to check our ring in gaps. And we've separated our rings for the front cylinder and the rear cylinder, and our pistons as well. Just use your piston to shove it down in there a little ways. Make sure your rings are squared up in there, or else you'll get a false reading. Pretty close there. And that is our secondary ring compression. That's our secondary ring. Put our compression ring in. Side up. Now let's see what S&S has to say. Compression ring is supposed to be 14 to 22, and we've got a 15 there, and 16 to 24 on the secondary, and we're at 19 thou. So the bore is perfect here on this. This is what we want. So now we're going to go along, check the rear one, and this is the compression ring. Secondary. So they're rated specs where they're supposed to be. Great. Shows you the bore is the right size, or else you'd have a lot of extra ring gap. So by checking those, I know my bore is the right size as well. If I had excessive ring gap on it, then the bore would be too big. But I'm right in the specs where I want to be. So these ones are good to go. So now we're going to get the pistons on and get the cylinders on and move ahead. We'll get one of our base gaskets ready to go. Paying attention to where the oil holes are and the pins. Making sure we fit down on the pin and that our oil hole here is showing. In order to get our pistons on, we like to get them on nice and square. And we've designed up a few different plates, but we're going to use our nylon ones here because the front piston is curved on the bottom. That way there's no fear of damaging the piston. Rings come in many different configurations, some with dots on the top, some with 2 dots, some without dots. A couple things on just to protect our pistons. So check your manufacturer's specs on your rings as to how they go on your pistons before you put them on. Check and double check, because it can make a difference. We've got to get our piston pin clip in. We've already installed it in this side, and we've put our rings on to save us some trouble. I always like to cover up all the small holes, because if you piston clip pops out, it's easy for it to go down into the engine. Everyone has their own way of doing it, and they're always a pain, but you want to make sure that the opening gap is at the top of the piston. And we just push that in there a little ways. Get it started. there most of the way. We use our little tool that we've made up. It slides in the piston rings and it has a little tit on it there. That will just fit in, so once we've got it started, we can just turn that around and it'll pop the clips right in there. Always want to make sure that it's seated well into the groove. All right, and we're in. Take our rag out. Just going to check our gaps where we want them. Okay. I'm just going to rotate the motor now a little bit until our piston wants to sit right down on there. So we've got our rings spaced around according to the manufacturer's specs. We're going to oil these up so that our ring compressor will slide down on there. Start tightening it up, and we just get it down a little bit below the top of the piston, just above the ring. In there, just like that. Pops right down on there. Now we just need to rotate the engine a little bit, get it up. Let's get it up enough to get her. Just to make sure again that we're in our right places with our oiling holes. Clean off any oil that might have got there. And there we go. First one's on. We just got a couple spacers here and such. Just gonna put that on there. And that will keep our cylinder from moving when we go to do the other cylinder. Or we just make sure our surfaces are nice and clean. Put our gasket on, paying particular attention to the oiling hole and the alignment pin. There we go. Tighten that up a little bit, and we'll get our piston ready. Just slide these on to protect it a little bit. And again, just a small rag down in here, just in case you drop the pin, the clip. They'll always go where you don't want them to go, so. There. Your rear piston has a cutout in the front, so you want to be aware of that. That's the way it goes. Make sure you don't get it in backwards. Don't be afraid to oil them up. You got to slide down on there, so. Okay, now we'll get our piston down on our plate. Just checked our ring gaps here. When you're putting them on and stuff, things can move around on your piston. So before we put the compressor clamp on, But you're always making sure that it says bottom on it. They can get moved around as you're dicking with the piston there, so instead of wondering when you put it together, did I check that ring gap and where they were supposed to be, always try and make sure. All right, we'll get our cylinder. Make sure we're squared up in there. Just lift it up enough to get the ring compressor out. Clean any oil off that might have got on our gaskets. Okay, that's it for installing our cylinders. The next step will be getting the heads. I got to pull the cam cover off to see what I'm in here for a cam in order to be able to try and distinguish what to set the valves at. Like I say, it's a hit and miss thing. We don't know exactly what's in it, but we're going to try to calculate the best we can to figure out what to put in there. And in order to do that, you know, and get the specs close, we need to know what the cam is and what the lift of the cam is, so we can figure things out roughly from there and try to get a decent spring pressure on it. So we'll get on to it. So now we're going to try and get this Jim's cover off, which there's no exterior bolts. Everything has to come off somehow. Oh, it was rusted. That one was very loose. They're in there. You always get scared that you're going to strip something or break it off in there. Just take your time with it. Feels like somebody put those in with red Loctite. Yeah. A pile of Loctite. That will ya? I know it probably needed some in there, but whew, it's a lot. I would say that should come off. I would say it's in there on a pin, just gently. Yeah, getting that O-ring back in is probably going to be a trick. Two more screws in here. Just take your time. We don't want to be prying on anything that we shouldn't be. Ruining any surfaces. go. So we've got these little units, magnets on the end of them, and we should be able to put them down in there, shove the cams up, enough to hold them up so we can get that cam out. There we go. Out of curiosity, I would like to run that around, and that'll make it easier to get it back in. We just want to pull it out and have a look. There, all our marks are lined up. And there we go. She's out. So we've got the cam pulled out, and what we've discovered is that we've got an Andrews EV79 cam in it, which is quite a stout cam, but for this kind of engine it's not surprising. When I went trying to find the specs for it, all my listings that I had, even on Andrews, didn't have a listing for it actually, so I had to dig through my old-time junk and see what I could find. I always keep files on stuff and different sorts of installs and things over the years, and I found it terribly handy to go back and look and say, I don't know what is the specs about that, but I do remember that I got a piece of paper on that'll tell me that. And as I said, online on the website, I didn't see on Andrews that cam listed. I might have been doing it wrong. But anyway, to have the specs for this cam, now that we see it's an EV79, it makes it a lot better for us to know where we're going with setting up the springs and what sort of pressure we might have to have. This cam is like a 560 lift, you know, but they're asking for 610 thou clearance with those things going up and down with them. So it's pretty aggressive in that position, in that way. It's a long duration cam, so it means that when you're on that wick, once you get pushing up 3 grand, that's where your power is going to come on. So it's made more for the top end than it is the middle, but such is the way people sacrifice for power. Might not idle as well, but as Barry says, she's a screamer. She's a screamer. So I'm going to go through the valve things as we go and assemble our heads, a little more detail on duration. It's a long duration cam. So I'm going to try to get together details and explain to you the difference between these cams. I often get asked about cams. What should I put in? Where should I go? I'm certainly not an expert on them. But by the basic numbers, there's sort of a rule of thumb people can follow and get the most out of what you're looking for your cam. So we're going to go ahead and move on this motor. Everything looks good on this cam. The lobes are good. There's a slight little marking that you can tell. It's not surprising where that valve was bouncing around like that. But I think that it will be fine. So I think I'm going to pull the lifter blocks out just to double check the bottoms of the lifters. But other than that, we've got a direction to go, and one of our next videos will be doing the heads and a little more explanation on that as far as I can figure it out. All right. Let's go. So when I got into Jimmy's, he was there waiting for me and ready to yak about things and get ready to go. I always have a good time when I'm up here at Jimmy's. You know, it's casual, we're laid back, so it's a lot of fun. Once we tried to dial in the top of the valve guide hole, became apparent of how much movement there was in it. You know, just feel one thing in your hand like this, put a little gauge on it, measures 0.10 of an inch. You start to see things move around. So just by wiggling that, you can see how much.
Yeah, that's half degree. That one.
Ooh.
Half degree.
Yeah. And that's just that way, yeah. I knew it was a mess in there. But we talked about some stuff, and Jimmy had some good ideas there. So we said, well, we'll try them. You know, it's like my wife always said, if it's already broken, what can you do to it? Yeah, I couldn't figure out which way to go like that, whether like you were talking before, dialing off the seat or...
Yeah.
You know, but like you say, the top surfaces should be level. Yep. It's probably a thou. Different, coming over this way.
That's not bad.
No. No, I mean, you're going to be able to...
That may work in doing it that way.
Glue it in?
Yep.
Just to take the thou out of it or so. Hold it down, count to 10.
That stuff takes a little longer.
Yeah.
It's good.
Works good on some applications, that's for sure. Pretty less closer than what it was. It was moving the foul to this side, so.
You know,
To dial it in, yeah, it's not moving there.
nope.
Oh yeah, it looks good, Jimmy.
And then you go over
Another
there.
half a thou, yeah. I could see it from here when you were dialing in that, you know, how much closer it was fucking getting on it, right? Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get any closer than that on it, you know, at best, right?
So to ask a stupid question, what exactly are we doing?
Trying to line the hole up straight, because he's
Gotcha.
gonna bore the hole out.
Gotcha.
And then I can put an
So-
oversized valve in or make a guide out of
So
that.
you're gonna drill down through that big piece?
He's gonna bore right through
Right
the
through
head
that?
to try and get the whole round,
Right.
right? Hopefully,
Actually, it grouped. But how do we have 0, 0, 0, 0? So let's do it again. I'll hold it down, Ralph. You,
turn it.
what are we on here? What do you got up top?
Okay, I'm about right there. I'm a thou. I'm
Okay.
two marks on that, eh?
What up?
2 marks on this. That's a half a thou.
Look, 0. Here's 0, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Inch it down.
There. Okay. You see it on your side there?
Plus 9. What do you got on the sides? There's 0 there. Okay, take over my other thumb.
I'm zero there.
Yeah, see if,
Pretty well.
see if we got 0 on the other thumb.
Right.
It's your machines too, aren't you? You've been,
I did over the years.
yeah, a little bit. So you had a lathe in that, your
Oh
place
yeah, I
just
did.
was-
Yeah. I don't have this
Yeah.
tilt mill, right?
Tilt mill, that's what I thought.
I have an old drill mill.
I've got a hand drill and I can put it on all kinds of different angles.
Yeah.
About 36? Yeah, I'd say. Somewhere between
But that's the
20
thing,
and
you
40.
get a thou off the top out.
Yeah,
By the
it's-
time you get down to the seat,
Exactly, it's just 3 or 4 thousand.
it's a big area.
Yeah, and then you don't see it against
But-
the seat.
What's got to be done with it's got to be done. And
Yeah.
Lots of times you never know really what works either, you know, till you dick around and try this or try that to find the most accurate setup of that.
Do this properly now. If we tap this around to get 0, then we go around the outside of it to get our center.
oh yeah.
So it's 0. Then it's 0. Then it's 0.
Boys, eh?
We'll get her.
Yeah. Even like say this surface here, even this, you know, because the guide was loose, you know, that I'm sure it hammered some on the bottom retainer as well. Well, getting the hole around is going to be the trick. You know, as long as we can clean it up, I can always make something. I do have that other valve guide blank that I can use, so clean her up like we can.
Ready?
Ready as we'll ever be, Jimmy. You know, it is what it is, buddy. It is what it is. How do you feel confident?
I'm gonna get her no closer.
Yeah, no, you're not going to get any closer than that. I thought even be good to get it even within a thou anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, with everything being beat so badly. After making the first cut down there and seeing it run down through, it was plain to see that I think we got her in line as good as it possibly can be. The cut seemed to be leaving a little bit at the top, but was cleaning up all the way down through with the first couple cuts. So that was a good indication that, you know, we're going to have some meat and we're in the right direction.
Where she's not cutting smooth on. So I got like 3 or 4 thou come out of it.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
I think 562 is a standard, but they're pretty close to size. I mean, that's, the size is the outside diameter of the guide.
That's 687.
Yeah, it looks like we're oversized. Not much we can do about it, but got to go ahead and make what we can do. In order to try and clear that little bit around the top, holy Jesus, you'd have to take another 10 thou off at least. And we know we're in line, so we got a pretty good chance with that. You know, a thou over, even a thou and a half will do. You know, heat it up good, and freeze the guide, and they'll go in there. Better than new. Salvageable. So I'm back from Jimmy's, and everything went fairly smooth. The hole was walled out pretty big, and it turns out we can't use an extra valve guide that I might have been able to, but I'm going to make one anyway, so it's no big deal. Some things just go smooth, some don't, and it needed quite a bit of cutting to get it where we needed it, but the head's going to be salvageable, and that's the main thing. So we'll do that, and then we'll be on to the rest. We also got some plans for next week's video coming up. We're going to assemble our heads and put them together and measure everything out the way we should. We've got to get our valve height, our installed height for what we need for the pressures. I'm not quite sure yet where we're going with that, but I got some tools and I got some things that I think I can use to help figure that out. I guess it's sort of a plan. I'm also going to make myself a new tool that I'm hoping I'm going to be able to use in this project. It's a valve checker for checking the distance between the valves when they're both open in the head. And nice to have that measurement. We did clay the motor before at the top, and there's no interference there, obviously. But it's just a neat kind of thing. It was made by Troc, and it was sold by a lot of companies, but upon looking for it, guess what? I can't buy one anywhere. They're mostly for air, you know, maybe for flowing heads and things like that, but they're hard to get. So I thought to myself, well, it's a couple dog gauges and the thing moves up and down. You know, maybe we can make something, and maybe I'll just take the time to do that. It's sort of at its rough stages right now, and I'm not sure if that's how it's going to be. But after you make it out of cardboard and you kind of put it there and you measure it out and put a rough sketch, get an idea where you're going. I was fine once I cut it out of a piece of metal. Then I know where I'm going for sure, right or wrong. But I may use this piece, or I may cut a new piece out, and I'll see what I've got for metal. And but I think this is going to work. It's going to be a nice tool to add to my arsenal of stuff for head work. You know, that's just something I enjoy doing some of, and I'm curious about a lot of things. So I'm going to mount this up in here somehow, and a little piece to go across here. I'm going to put a top on this with a screw in it so that I can push this valve stem up and down. This may turn out to be just the unit. So those are upcoming things that are going to be coming in the next few videos and things. Stick around, follow us, subscribe, ring the bell, hit the like button, do all those things. It's really appreciated, and it helps our channel grow.